The room is on the third floor of a motel with one working stairwell, and that was your mistake, made a lifetime ago, when you took whatever key the clerk handed you instead of walking the building first. It's 4:52 a.m. Your phone shows 1 bar and 41%, and a burner charger you never opened is still sitting in its plastic on the nightstand. Below, in the lot, 2 men move between cars with a flashlight, reading plates, unhurried, not lost. You count backward. 11 weeks since you last said your own name out loud to a stranger. You don't know yet whether those men are here for someone else's car or for yours. In a few minutes, you will. But first, go back 4 months to the morning a courtroom waited for you, and you didn't show.
Level 1. The date you didn't keep. 4 months earlier, you are exactly who you've always been. Behind on rent, one open case away from actually meaning something to the state, and certain, genuinely certain, that if you just don't show up, the problem stays parked at the courthouse without you. On the morning of the hearing, you sit in your car across the street with the engine running, watching people in slightly nicer clothes than yours walk in through the metal detector. You tell yourself you'll go in during the next recess, once your hands stop feeling like someone else's. The clock moves past your appearance time. 9:15, 9:30. Nobody comes to get you. That's the trick of it. Nothing happens. No siren, no knock, just a clerk somewhere marking a box on a form, and a judge who doesn't wait twice. You drive off telling yourself you'll deal with it once things calm down, a promise you have no plan for keeping.
You go to work like normal that afternoon. You use your own debit card for gas because paying cash for everything feels like something guilty people do. And you're choosing today not to feel guilty. That purchase becomes one more record tying your real name to a place and a time. You won't think about it again for months. By the time you learn what failure to appear actually means, it's already a warrant with your name on it, sitting in a county system, waiting for the next ordinary encounter with law enforcement to bring it back into your life.
Level 2, the paper warrant. For a while, the warrant is almost nothing. It's local, it's low priority, and the deputies handling real emergencies aren't coming to your door at 6 a.m. for a bench warrant on a case nobody outside your county has heard of. You start believing the math is on your side. Thousands of warrants, one of you. You go to work, take a different route past the corner where a patrol car sometimes idles. Stop answering numbers you don't recognize. One afternoon, a call from a bail bondsman's office rings itself out 4 separate times. For about 2 weeks, it feels survivable, almost boring, the way real fear rarely is. Then small things begin to feel different. A patrol car behind you at a red light keeps your hands locked at 10 and 2 until it turns away. A coworker mentions that 2 deputies came by the address listed on your paperwork. Your mother asks why someone from the county called looking for you.
Nobody is kicking in doors because nobody needs to. The warrant has changed the meaning of ordinary contact. A traffic stop, a name check, the wrong conversation with the wrong officer, any one of them could end the experiment. Then a friend from your old job, you'll call him Danny for the rest of this, mentions, almost as a joke, that a cousin of his got picked up on an old warrant during a routine traffic stop several states away. Nobody had been chasing him. His name was simply checked, and the warrant was there. That's the moment the shape of this changes for you. Staying starts to feel like waiting for a phone to ring. So you make the decision that turns a local problem into something bigger. You pack what fits in one bag, leave your key on the counter, and cross a state line before sunrise.
Level 3. The line. Crossing a state line to dodge a case sounds abstract until you're the one doing it, in a hatchback at 1 a.m., watching a welcome to sign go by like it means nothing. It means something. Somewhere around a gas station 200 miles from home, you catch yourself checking the rear view more than the road and realize this is just how it feels now. Federal law has a name for interstate flight intended to avoid prosecution or confinement. Unlawful flight to avoid prosecution. If federal authorities take the case, your name can now sit behind a federal warrant, giving investigators reach far beyond the county you left behind. The original case doesn't disappear. The circle around it gets larger. There is no press conference. Nobody puts your face on television. Your file simply moves into a different kind of system, one built for people who crossed a jurisdictional line, believing distance would make the problem smaller. Instead, the problem has just become larger than the county you left behind.
Level 4. The file opens. The U.S. Marshals didn't invent the manhunt, but finding fugitives has been part of the agency's work for generations. Across the country, Marshals-led fugitive task forces combine federal deputies with state and local officers. built for cases that need more reach than one department can provide. Your file lands on a desk under fluorescent lights in an office you'll never see. An investigator opens it beside a keyboard, a legal pad, and a cup of coffee already gone cold. The first page contains your photograph and basic information. The next pages begin filling with the ordinary pieces of your old life. Your last known address, vehicles associated with you, former workplaces, relatives, old phone numbers, people whose names have appeared beside yours before. Nothing on the page feels dramatic by itself. That's what makes it dangerous to your idea of disappearing. The investigator isn't trying to guess where you are from scratch. He's narrowing possibilities. One address is months old. Another belongs to someone who hasn't seen you in years. A former employer says you stopped coming in. A vehicle connection still looks useful, so it gets marked. A name appears more than once in the file. Danny. Before anyone gets close to you, somebody else hears the knock. Your former roommate opens her door in socks and finds two officers asking when she last spoke to you, whether you still drive the same car, whether you mentioned leaving town.
She doesn't know where you are, but that isn't the point. 20 minutes later, the file is slightly different than it was before they arrived. She calls you that night, still shaken. For the first time, you understand what running actually did. It didn't erase your connections. It turned them into questions investigators could ask other people. Level 5. The paper trail. For a while, you feel like you're winning. New city, a cash job, a room paid for a week at a time. You've stopped using your real name for almost everything. Almost. Back in the task force office, the search no longer looks like one person staring at a map. It looks like small pieces being compared. An old address beside a newer one. A vehicle beside a name. A phone number that appears in more than one place. A legitimate record created months ago under your real identity. Investigators don't need every piece to point directly at your motel room. They only need enough of them to stop pointing everywhere else. One afternoon, an investigator pulls up a record tied to a city several hours from where you started. It isn't proof that you're there now. It doesn't have to be. He writes the city on the legal pad and compares it with something already in the file. Another connection points roughly the same direction, shrinking the circle again. The circle gets smaller. That is the part you misunderstand while you're sitting in a diner believing silence means safety. You think disappearing requires investigators to follow you in real time.
It doesn't. Much of the work happens behind you. Every confirmed fact removes another place you might be, another story that no longer fits, another direction they don't need to search. Weeks pass without a siren outside your room, and you read the quiet as proof that the distance worked. In the office, your possible locations are becoming fewer.
Level 6. Danny.
Danny is the one person who still knows, more or less, where you actually are, because he's the one person you never fully lied to. He mails you cash twice, folded inside a birthday card the second time, like that makes it less obvious. On the phone, he still laughs the same way he did at your old job, and for 10 minutes at a time, you get to be a person who isn't running from anything. He tells himself he's helping a friend through something temporary, the way people do right up until temporary becomes a habit neither of you names out loud. Then, 2 deputies show up at his apartment, not yours, asking where you've gone and when he last heard from you. Whether Danny says something useful that afternoon, or whether the task force already had enough without him, you will never fully know. That uncertainty costs more than proof would. The next time he calls, you let it ring while you watch his name on the screen until it disappears. You tell yourself it's caution, but it's also the first person this has cost you. And by the time it's over, he won't be the last.
Level 7. The net. By the 4th month, you've stopped calling it hiding and started calling it managing, because managing sounds like something you're still in control of. You switch rooms every 8 or 9 days. You pay cash, mostly. You learn how quickly an unfamiliar car in a parking lot can ruin an otherwise normal morning, and how exhausting it is to treat every stranger as someone who might recognize you. Then a tip comes in from someone who thinks they saw you. Somewhere else, a vehicle connected to your name appears in roughly the same area. Neither fact has to solve the case by itself. What matters is what happens when investigators place them beside everything already in the file. The task force doesn't have to rush in the moment they think they found you. They can verify first. A car sits at the far end of your motel's lot longer than it should.
Someone passes through the property more than once. Maybe you notice, maybe you don't. The goal is simple. Confirm that the person in the room is actually you. Understand the setting, and reduce the chances that an arrest becomes more dangerous than it needs to be. One evening, your car won't start on the first try, and for 30 full seconds, you consider leaving it behind and moving again before the engine catches. The moment passes. You tell yourself you'll stay one more week. By then, your biggest weakness isn't a database or a camera. It's exhaustion. 4 months of changing rooms and checking mirrors has made staying still feel almost like safety, which is exactly why you stay one night too long.
Level 8. The room. Which brings you back to the 3rd floor, 4:52 a.m. One working stairwell, 2 men in the lot with a flashlight.
They aren't guessing anymore. By the time a fugitive team moves on a room, the objective is usually to know who is inside, understand the exits, and make the arrest with as much control as possible. What you can't see from the window is where the rest of the team is positioned, or how long they've been there. This is the part that rarely looks like the movie version. Many fugitive arrests don't end in a high-speed chase. They end at a house, an apartment, a parking lot, a workplace, or a motel room after investigators have already done most of the searching somewhere else. The knock, when it comes, isn't loud. A voice on the other side identifies law enforcement and orders you to open the door. You have rehearsed this moment in your head for months, usually with yourself escaping through some door you haven't found yet. There isn't one. You open the door already understanding, in the half second before anyone says your actual name, that the running ended before the arrest did.
The last few weeks were only the time it took for the people looking for you to become certain.
You're back in the county you left, sitting in the courtroom you were supposed to enter 4 months ago. The original case is still there. So is the missed appearance. Depending on what happened while you were gone and how prosecutors handle the interstate flight, there may now be consequences that did not exist on the morning you first decided not to walk through those courthouse doors. The judge reads the record while your lawyer talks quietly beside you. 4 months ago, you imagined the worst part of the case was whatever sentence waited at the end of it. Now the question is different. How much worse did running make everything that came before it? Danny never calls again, and you never learn for certain whether he had to talk, chose to, or barely said anything at all. The uncertainty follows you longer than the friendship does. Nationally, none of this makes you unusual. U.S. Marshals and their task force partners arrest large numbers of fugitives every year, and many of those arrests look nothing like the manhunts people imagine. No gunfight, no helicopter hovering over a freeway. Most of the work happened before anyone reached your door. Records compared, people interviewed, tips checked, locations narrowed, patience applied, until there was almost nowhere left for uncertainty to hide. The system didn't need to be dramatic to find you. It only needed to stay patient longer than you could stay hidden.
You didn't lose a chase. There was no chase. Not really. Only a file that grew a little heavier every week you thought you were pulling away, until one ordinary morning, the people behind it finally arrived at your door. If you want to understand how the rest of the system works before it ever gets that far, subscribe. The next file opens soon.